Hey, I want to take a moment today to make a quick video. I don't have my camera or my editing equipment here, so this isn't going to be a really fancy video. But I wanted to address some things that have come up because of a couple of videos I posted in the last couple of days. Well, I was talking about, I guess I can't pause there because I can't edit this. The last couple of days I posted videos about both the Sterling case and the Castile case, and I wanted to address some issues that people have brought up about those. In the Sterling case, I said, well, you know, what do you expect? You are armed, you're a felon, and you're fighting police, you're probably going to get shot. Now, a lot of people take that to mean that I think it was right, that the officers did the right thing. No, I don't think the officers did the right thing at all. I don't think very many officers do the right thing nowadays in situations like that. Back in my day, the main emphasis of training was de-escalation. Nowadays, it seems the main emphasis of training is domination, and that creates a situation where stuff like this keeps happening, and that's a part of the system that has to change. But when you do have a record, when you are doing something wrong, when you have police confronting you and you know you're armed, fighting them is not a good idea. It's like poking a rattlesnake. If it bites you, you were poking a rattlesnake. You know it's a rattlesnake. That doesn't mean you want rattlesnakes in your yard, but if one is in your yard, you treat it like a rattlesnake. So when you're armed and you're having a confrontation with police, you have a duty or a responsibility to take a little bit of an extra measure to make sure things don't go too far because, like I said, you know they're rattlesnakes. And when it comes to the Castile case, that's quite a rough transition there, but when it comes to the Castile case, I said racism definitely played a part in this. And I'm sorry, it did. The whole thing about, oh, well, now you know he's a robbery suspect, and blah, blah, blah. He's not a robbery suspect. He looks nothing like the person that committed the robbery, except that they both have dark skin and long hair. Other than that, they look nothing alike, except, I guess, for the wide nose, as the officer said. Anyone in law enforcement can tell you that saying they match the description of a suspect, especially if you don't even mention the case or the report that they match, that's just code for they're black. So they basically stopped him for driving while black. And then they try to say, well, he didn't react to his race, he reacted to the gun. The officer was reacting to the gun. Well, first off, he told you had a gun. He had a gun. So who tells you they have a gun before they do something nefarious with it? You know, they don't do that. They don't say, hey, I've got a gun on me, and then try to shoot you. They would try to shoot you without telling you had the gun. So that's ridiculous garbage. And I'm sorry, race, like I said, did play a part in it. Because when you're a police officer, you make a lot of your judgments based on your previous knowledge, the experience you've had, the training you've had. And sadly, we live in a world where they deal with a lot of people of a certain color or a certain ethnic group or a certain economic group that commit a lot of crimes. So in their head, they know, hey, if I stop some guy driving, a brand new Honda Accord who's white and wearing a business suit, there's probably less chance he's going to try to shoot me if I stop someone driving a low rider with, smoking a joint and, dreadlocks down his back. Because that's just the reality that they face. Doesn't mean it's right, it just means it's the reality. So of course racism played a part in this. And they're like, well, he wasn't even white, he was Asian, the cop was Asian. Asians can be racist for one thing, but the other, I'm not talking about white against black racism. I'm just talking about racism, inherent racism in the departments themselves, where they do have very racist tendencies, very racist beliefs based on experience they have. When people say racism, they think that you immediately are saying that someone is some sort of Nazi or some sort of monster. No, you can be racist based on your experiences. If you are, let's say, if you're from the Middle East and you hate the Turks, and it turned out the Turks, exterminated your Armenian ancestors, well, you're racist against the Turks, even though it's not really a race. You're more biased against their nationality, but you got a reason to be. I mean, you can say, I don't like Turks. That's not saying, oh, you're a monster because you're lumping everybody together. Well, no, you kind of got justification. So, it might not be right, but it's not like you're just some sort of monster that just hates for the sake of hating. And that's kind of the way I saw it with this case. He approached the car in a certain way because the guy looked a certain way. That's racism, whether you like it or not. And then, but I made the point. Then I made the point that I don't think his race was the biggest factor. I think the biggest factor was that he was armed. Police officers do not like armed civilians. And you can say, oh, I think most officers are pro-gun. No, they're not. I don't think that's true anymore. I think you're living in the past. You're living back in my day when you say that, because I don't think most modern officers are. Most modern officers are coming from a military background now. Back in my day, if you had a military background, good luck becoming a law enforcement officer. They didn't want you. Nowadays, it seems like that's all they recruit, because like I said, they're not recruiting, and to paraphrase a friend of mine, they're not recruiting peace officers anymore. They're recruiting foot soldiers. So there's a big change there. So these guys, you know, they're not the same officers they used to be. I don't think they're as pro-gun. When I first came out of the military, first came out of law enforcement, I was very anti-gun for most of it. I just didn't think they had the training or the responsibility to handle it. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that was just a bunch of brainwashing, and it is not true. So when I say racism played a part, it did. But the biggest part was that he was armed. And like I said, he told him he was armed. So I don't think there's any justification in thinking, oh, he's got nefarious, he tends to have a nefarious means here. Not nefarious means. See, this is what happens when I can't edit. He, you know, had nefarious intent. You can't say that if he informed you he had a gun. And there's these right-wing blogs that are saying, ha, see, he was a robbery suspect. And they even showed a close-up of his waistband where you can't see anything. Like, that's the gun that was used in the robbery. No, you can't even say. I do guns pretty much all the time. I can't tell that was a gun used in a robbery. Can't even tell there's a gun there, so I don't know how they're making that judgment. So, you know, it's just ridiculous. But I wanted to clear up those couple of things people are saying. You know, I'm not saying the police officers in the Sterling case were correct. And I'm not saying that just because he had a criminal background that it was good that they killed him. I don't think he ever did anything worth killing for. I didn't think he committed an executable offense. I'm just saying that when you poke a rattlesnake, you get bit. And you do have a certain bit of responsibility when you know you're dealing with a rattlesnake to take that into account and act in a special way. So it doesn't justify his killing. It just means, what do you expect? That's basically what I was saying. And in the Castile case, I'm not saying that the cops are like monsters that just hate black people. I'm saying because of their experiences, because of their training, they have biases against race. That's just the way it is. And I'm sorry, that call that he made, that is one of the clear indications of a bias against race. Any police officer will tell you that's code for he's black. But racism wasn't the biggest part. The biggest part is that he was armed civilian. That's the problem I think that the officer really had. He was on equal footing. He saw himself as being almost on near equal footing with that guy. Police officers don't like that. Like I said, they're not taught to de-escalate anymore. They're taught to dominate. It's hard to dominate if the other person is as well armed as you. So they don't like that. But I hope this quick video here kind of clears up a few questions people have. I'm going to get back to my vacation, and hopefully you won't be subjected to any more of these poorly filmed and poorly thought out videos, at least for another week or so. How do I turn this damn thing off?